Hello everybody and welcome to part 5 of what if the 4 Cardinal heroes swap places. The last 2 parts have focused a lot of Motoyasu, so now we're gonna focus on the other 3. If you enjoy the video, as always, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. You can also check my Discord, link in the description below. That's all I have to say before the video starts, so enjoy! Cover! Ren shouted with all of his might while taking a big step back. 2 of his companions jumped in front of him, attacking the giant ogre monster before he could attack the hero. A big brawler-looking guy swung his axe into the beast, causing it to reel from the attack. Then a girlish-looking man pierced into the enemy multiple times with his rapier. "Are you alright, Ren?" A girl with purple hair asked, helping Ren get back up to his feet. "Yeah," Ren responded, shrugging his arm away from the girl. "Just get the healing spell going." The mage nodded and started casting the spell. It then took effect, healing Ren and his party. He was almost at half HP, but now he was closer to 90% of his health. "Get out of the way!" he shouted while pulling the string of his bow. The 2 party members who were engaged with the ogre boss jumped out of the way, leaving Ren space to unleash his skill. "Wind arrow!" he called out, shooting a powerful arrow made of wind at the monster. The arrow went over the monster's head, missing its target, but it did manage to get its attention. The ogre let out an intimidating roar and went rushing at Ren, ready to club him into oblivion. "Damn it! Cover!" Ren shouted, jumping back once more. He had been training with that stupid bow ever since he arrived. His aim had undoubtedly improved, but it was just so uncomfortable. If only he had been summoned with a sword. Heck, he'd even take the spear. The berserker of the group jumped in the way, blocking the ogre's club. The girlish-looking man then went on the offensive, hitting the beast repeatedly. All this while Ren grew frustrated at himself. He was trying to hit the monster with his arrows. As he tried, he saw a notification pop on screen. "Aiming arrow! Crimson shot!" Ren shouted, combining both skills into one attack. He let go of the string of the bow and the arrow went flying out of his hand. It impaled the ogre right in the eye, dealing a critical shot and killing the beast. An XP counter appeared next to Ren and all of his companions, dividing the spoils of the battle. He had dealt the final blow, so he had received the most of the XP. It was enough for 2 of his 6 companions to level up. It frustrated Ren a great deal to have to rely on the XP share. He was much more of a solo player, but with the stupid weapon he was forced to wield, he was forced to do many things he wasn't happy doing. "Good job, Ellen," the berserker said, high-fiving his companion. "What are you two celebrating?" Ren asked, his frustration showing. "The wave is only 2 weeks away, and some of us haven't hit the 30s yet." He walked to the monster's corpse, put the bow's gem next to it and absorbed the body. It unlocked the berserker bow, which did little but increase his attack stat by a few points. "Come on, let's get going. We have more work to do before the day is over," Ren said to his companions as he started walking away. Not wanting to be left behind, they followed behind the hero. "Are we sure this is the right place?" Itsuki asked, meeting up with his party members after surveying the area. "It doesn't seem like anything malicious is going on here." "Yes, Lord Itsuki. This is the place Lord Raiba told us about, the Reichnot territory. Not only is that lowlife a demi-human supremacist, but he has the audacity to smuggle slaves. Truly a vile man," a man in shining armor said. "Can't you see the treacherous aura around here? It is obvious that he is guilty. Any true ally of justice would see that," Malty said, grabbing onto Itsuki's arm in such a way that he got a glimpse at what she was packing. "That's right! Don't you see it, Itsuki?" "Let's see," one of Malty's friends said. "I guess you're right," Itsuki said, giving in to their demands without totally realizing it. He just didn't like the idea of not being thought of as a true ally of justice. "Can we be sure? There's nothing out of the ordinary here. No high taxes, no one crying for help, nothing. It just seemed like a fairly normal territory," Alisa said, questioning what the others were saying. Hey, new girl! How dare you question Lord Itsuki's judgment? Malty scolded. How dare this new girl question them? I understand your concern, Alicia, but these are my teammates, and I trust them, Itsuki said, putting his hand on the dark blue-haired girl's shoulder and giving her a gentle smile. If everyone's ready, then we'll start the operation soon. Once the sun set, Itsuki and his party started moving through the town, getting close to the noble's mansion. Rope spear, Itsuki said, throwing a spear into a wall. As it flew out of his hand, rope was left behind. They used the rope to climb over the wall and get into the closed-off area. They sneakily entered the mansion, which lacked many guards, making their way towards the nobleman's quarters. Every time they came across a guard, they made sure to disable him sneakily. Once they reached the room, they opened the door and went in, closing it behind them. What can I do for you? The nobleman asked, seeing them enter the room. At first he had thought it was one of his maids or servants that came to ask something, but he quickly realized that wasn't the case. I'm afraid you have the wrong place, he said, projecting a friendly appearance towards his would-be assailants. Van Reichnot, we are here to take you down for abusing your power as a nobleman, Mald shouted, grabbing his sword and pointing it at the nobleman. Yes, for the crime of slave trading and under the authority of the spear hero, you are going to be defeated, Leslie added. I think there may have been some sort of misunderstanding. I've done nothing of the sort, Van Reichnot said, raising his hands into the air, surrendering. I'll be happy to go with you so we can sort this all out, Sir Hero. After hearing that, Mald charged at the nobleman, ready to strike him down. Before he could get close enough, he was hit in the back by an arrow, which bounced from his armor, leaving only a small dent. What? Treachery? Mald shouted, turning around to face Alicia, who was preparing another arrow just in case. Can't you see that he's surrendering? He has no hostile intention and is willing to come along without fighting. It would be unhonorable to strike him down now, Alicia said, pulling the string of the bow and preparing to shoot again. Both Mald and Leslie prepared their weapons, pointing them at the girl. Itsuki put his hand in front of Malty, stopping her line of attack, and shouted, Stop it! Lord Itsuki, but why? Malty responded. She's right, Itsuki said, putting Mind's sword down. He's unarmed and is surrendering. Mald grunted a bit but went along with the hero's wishes. They took the nobleman to a nearby guard post, where he was to be kept until he could be moved to the capital. Since it was pretty late and transportation wouldn't be there at least until midday, Itsuki and company went to an inn to rest up for the night. Mind still wanted to do something before going to bed, so she took a bit longer to get to the room. The next day, the mission complete, Itsuki and company waited for the transportation to arrive. Since they had finished the job, Itsuki had no need for his anonymity, so he was fully showcasing the spear in public. Some noticed he was the spear hero and approached to talk to him. Others kept their distance, just wanting to go about their daily lives. As Itsuki talked with two girls, boasting about taking down some tyrant to the north, a group of 5 demi-humans approached, wearing armor with a shield crest on it. For the shield hero! One of them shouted as all of them pulled out their swords and shields and rushed at Itsuki's party. Itsuki quickly reacted, blocking the closest attack, which was about to hit Malty, Letzi, and the people he was talking to. Mald just stood still, seeing as one of those knights impaled Elisa, who was trying to pull an arrow in a hurry. Itsuki pushed away the sword of the would-be assailant. Chaos Spear! He shouted, unleashing a series of quick attacks. They all made contact, defeating 3 of the knights quite easily. He turned around, searching for help from his allies. As he did, he saw Lisa spit up blood and fall to the ground. The knight pulled the sword from the body. Blood came rushing out and the man went rushing at mine. Itsuki wanted to defend but found himself having to parry an attack from the final knight of the shield. I shall save you, Mald said. If one were pressed to define his tone, they'd have to say he sounded slightly fake, like it was all rehearsed, but in the heat of the moment, Itsuki didn't notice. Mai let out a horrified scream as tears came out of her eyes. The sword had been stopped, but it was inches away from her head. Itsuki pushed the enemy away just as Maul readjusted his position, creating distance between the knight and mine. She crawled 2 steps back and put her head into her hands, hiding her face. "Paralyzing spear!" Itsuki said, hitting the enemy with a skill, stopping him in place. He immediately turned around and unleashed another skill. "Airstrike javelin!" The spear went flying to the final knight's shoulder, disabling him quickly. Maul then grabbed his sword and impaled it into the man who tried to kill the princess. Itsuki rushed to his wounded ally's side. "Healing magic! Someone cast healing magic!" Itsuki pleaded, looking around the town square. "I'm sorry, Lord Itsuki," Maul said, putting his hand on Itsuki's shoulder. "She's gone." Tears started flowing down Itsuki's face as his expression started filling with anger. He couldn't forgive this. He wouldn't forgive this. "Talk! What were you trying to accomplish?" Itsuki asked the knight he had paralyzed, anger at his friend's death swirling up. "Like I'd ever tell a swine like you who prosecutes against my lord," the demi-human answered, spitting on Itsuki's face. "We have done nothing to Van Reichenot," Maul said, grabbing the knight and slamming him against the wall. "So answer Lord Itsuki, filthy demi." "Not him. Our Lord and Savior, the shield hero, long may he live," the knight said, biting into some form of capsule. Within moments, he started convulsing and fell over dead. Itsuki turned around to look at the other knights who had done the same thing. He spotted Malty, who had collapsed on the ground and was crying into her hands. "Princess Malty, is everything okay?" Itsuki asked after seeing her that way. All the anger in his voice had vanished and was replaced by compassion. I can't take it anymore. First he forced himself on me, and now he sends his lackeys to silence me? I can't take it anymore. It's all his fault," she shouted before jumping into Itsuki's shoulder, crying her eyes out. Itsuki put his arms around the woman who had chosen to be his ally and tried consoling her. "If it's too much for you, you can always try supporting us from the castle," Itsuki suggested, wanting to keep her safe. He couldn't stand seeing her this way. This was unforgivable. Why would Motoyasu do this to someone, let alone the princess? How could anyone do something like this? The anger returned to Itsuki's voice as he whispered, "I swear he will pay. I'll make him pay." A slight smirk, hidden by the hero's shoulders, appeared on the princess's face after hearing that. 2 weeks had passed since Naofumi met with Motoyasu and he left for Siltvelt. Since then, Naofumi had gone on many adventures with his new companions, but after the Motoyasu incident, he couldn't help but be skeptical of their motivations. "What are we doing here, Naofumi?" Teresia asked, looking around the ruins of a village. "We're here for motivation," Naofumi responded. "The next wave is only in 4 days, and I thought it would be a good idea to see how the previous wave left things." As he said this, he contemplated the ruins of the village. The soft ocean breeze hit his face, along with it came a huge sense of calm. He could easily imagine how the village was before the wave had come. He looked around, imagining the sound of children playing while the parents came back with the haul of the day. "Forgive me for saying this, Sir Hero, but this is a waste of time," Bacta said while yawning into his hand. They had been woken up early and dragged to this place for a pretty dull motivation. The way Bacta had said that didn't just snap Naofumi out of thought, but it also annoyed him a bit. "I'm afraid Bacta may be right. Shouldn't we be spending our time leveling up or preparing for the wave in another fashion?" Velt asked. "Yeah, this is pointless. We already went through the class up process, so why aren't we leveling up more?" Tercia added. "There are some monsters around if you want to fight so badly," Naofumi said, trying to contain his anger. The three looked at each other, agreeing to go kill some monsters in the nearby area. Thus, Naofumi was left to his own devices. He walked around the village, slowly contemplating the destruction left behind by the wave. Something just feels wrong here. I know it, Naofumi thought to himself as he walked. Bacta, Tercia, and Velt just don't seem right. It seems like they're trying to manipulate me. I could always be wrong here. I could just be being paranoid. No matter the situation, I can't exactly ditch them right now, not with the wave right around the corner. It's going to take too long to get a new party and train them up. As Naofumi looked through the village, he spotted a woman on the beach. She was far away, so he couldn't get a good look at her, but he could tell she was probably paying her respects to a makeshift grave. He decided to leave the woman be and convened with his party. They returned to their adventures, leveling up for a couple days and preparing for the wave that was to come. The day of the wave arrived, and the heroes entered the final preparations for it. Itsuki spent this time walking through the streets, waving to the people of the town. Ren spent this time getting some grind time before the wave. Naofumi spent the time strategizing with his teammates, making sure they'd have everything they'd need. The grains of sand fell from the hourglass, inching ever closer to the start of the wave. Once the last grain fell, a loud gonging noise was heard, and a light enveloped the heroes and their parties. Once the light dissipated, they were all in the middle of the woods. The skies had turned red, and portals had appeared on them, with monsters coming out. "This way!" Ren shouted as he and his party started moving. "Let's go!" Itsuki added, with his party following suit. "We should go too," Tercia told Naofumi. He agreed, and the party followed behind the spear and bow heroes. As they ran towards where the boss was supposed to be located, Naofumi spotted a flare going off from a village's vicinity. For a moment, he stopped to contemplate his options. "What are you doing, Lord Iwatani?" Velt asked. Hearing that question, Naofumi started running, but he wasn't following behind the other two heroes. Instead, he was running towards the village. "Damn it!" Bacta shouted as he and the others started running behind Naofumi. "What are you doing?" Tercia asked. "The village needs our help. We are heroes. We need to make sure they're safe. That's our priority," Naofumi responded. After 3 minutes of running, they arrived at the village. The villagers were struggling to defend against the monsters. The moment Naofumi arrived, he unleashed a bunch of skills, killing many of the monsters around. He quickly ordered his subordinates to survey the area and escort the villagers while keeping the monsters busy. He managed to hold the monsters off and defeat them as they came. His level implementation of the sword's power-up methods gave him enough edge to not be overwhelmed until his companions returned. They wanted him to go help the other heroes, but Naofumi refused, saying he needed to keep the village secure. The castle knights arrived soon after. Once they arrived, they had a small talk, convincing Naofumi that he should go help Ren and Itsuki and leave the village's defense to the knights. Reluctantly, Naofumi agreed and went to join the other two. Since the wave had started, Ren and Itsuki had their sights set on the Chimera, the boss of the wave. They immediately started fighting it, unleashing skill after skill at the beast, but it seemed to do little to phase it. Most of Ren's shots were missing, and Itsuki seemed to be keeping his distance, choosing to only use long-range attacks. When Naofumi arrived, the beast still had half its health left. "Finally!" Itsuki shouted, throwing the javelin at the monster once again. "Where were you?" Ren asked, shooting 5 more arrows at the monster, only 2 making impact. "I was protecting a nearby village," Naofumi responded, preparing his sword and unleashing a flaming slash at the monster. After Naofumi arrived, it was only a matter of time before the monster fell. The 3 heroes were united, and together they managed to kill the beast in less than 10 minutes. Once the wave had ended, the loot had been divided, and while the cleanup began, the heroes were called to the castle to celebrate their victory. They enjoyed the festivities for a while, eating and drinking with the nation's elite. The party was cut short for the heroes as the king and princess requested their presence. Following the king's request, the 3 heroes were escorted to a room. Once they entered said room, they could see many important-looking knights along with the king and princess. So what's the deal here? Ren was the first to ask. Oh, brave heroes, those who have saved the day from catastrophe. Our nation implores you, please lend us your strength for the coming war, the king asked them after they entered the room. What? The three heroes exclaimed in unison, confused to the situation. And that's the end of the video. As always, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. This part is mostly just a bridge, showing a bit what the other two heroes were up to. I wanted to show Ren's frustrations, how the thing with Itsuki happened, and a bit on Naofumi, who's technically the protagonist, even though we focused a lot more time on Motoyasu. Yes, hope the wave was alright in this part, as honestly, maybe a bit too short. I asked people if they were okay with this length and no one said anything about making it longer. They mostly said, well, we already see this wave, nothing happens in it, and yeah, it's mostly the same. So I decided to keep it like this. As always, hope you enjoyed. See you next time, everyone. Bye!